Hello and welcome back to a new video. In this video, I'll be showing you how to glaze an oil painting. So this painting, as you would have seen on my channel, it was a time-lapse painting. And since this is an oil painting, I've let it dry completely. Look at that. So we have a background mountain there. And after that, an interesting part of the painting is we have another piece of foliage in the form of a mountain, and over here we have a tree which is almost in the foreground and some grassland over here. This is the actual foreground, but of course it starts from there and comes all the way till here, and we have some river action there with some interesting reflections of what's above. So I'll just show you even closer. Look at that. It looks quite natural to me and realistic. So let's go ahead and see how this can be glazed. Now the advantages of glazing is that you can bring the depth into your painting pretty easily. And by using very minimal paint, you can achieve this. As you can see, this mountain is far off, of course, yes. And this is the one after this. But this mountain, this piece of mountain, is not exactly in front of this. You can see that by the atmosphere that's in the way of this mountain. And if you observe over here, the direction of the foliage on this, that is the background or the mountain that is far, has a different angle. Whereas this is more inclined towards the left and this is more inclined towards the right. It makes everything fit together and everything tie together and makes the whole oil painting work. Okay, so now let's get started. So now I'll take my tree and texture brush and I'll go into some white, very little amount of white, very little. Look at that, dilute the color, dilute the intensity of the paint, amount of paint. Use very minimal, use it drop by drop. Okay. And if you observe in any of the landscape paintings, the mist or the fog starts from the bottom and goes all the way towards the top. So I'll go ahead at the bottom and I'm doing it very lightly, no pressure, almost no pressure, just relying on the paint on the brush. But to paint this, I repeat, this has to be completely dry. And even when I go back to my pile of paint, I go back to that part on my palette. Of course, this is my palette today. On the palette, so I take this, not this, but this, and let's go ahead and start off from the bottom again, not from here where we stopped, and be careful not to touch any of these. Okay, and just a bit over here and there will make it look even more realistic. Now we can take some more paint. I'm using pure white, but sometimes you can add even blue to create that atmospheric feel into your painting. I would suggest you not to go with a lot of paint onto the canvas. So look at that. And the advantage when you're going to do this, when it's completely dry, is that you don't lose out on the texture. You can see there the textures over there. You don't lose out on those textures. Okay, just gonna do it over there, and make sure you use a soft bristled brush like this. This has become soft over a period of time due to usage. Reload the brush and just playing around over there. Okay. Now let's switch gears to this mountain. I'm using the same old brush. I've not cleaned it. Okay, let me take off the paint. That gives me a good excuse to take off the paint on this part of the palette. And I'll take in some green. Okay, very little amount of green and just a slight touch, nick of the black. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Look at that, add drop by drop because these are oil paints and it cannot be changed once done. Okay, so I'll take up this and this is very important to me, and this looks like one of the defining features of the painting, of this particular painting. So let's go ahead and just sort of glaze it and give it some contrast. Okay, I'm not going to touch the highlighted parts, but just I'm going to create that lush green effect and create that contrast. That's going to help you to retain the texture, as well as it's going to create the effect. Look at that. So now let me show you how it looks. For that, let me take off the camera from the stand. Okay, set the stand aside. Keep the brush. Now let me show it from near. Look at that. If you observe, we've got some contrast over here at this part. When you look at this from far, this looks like a separate mountain or a separate element of the painting, and this looks separate, and even this one looks separate. I did not work on this because this already had some contrast. Of course, you could make it even darker by applying the same technique used over here, but I feel a bit over here is left out. So these are the last moment touch-ups, and let's go ahead and just bridge in the gap. Look at that, it's that easy, and it's pretty straightforward and helps the painting look more realistic and creates the depth into your painting. This even acts as a dry brush blending. You can even paint clouds on a sky, maybe on an evening sky. This works even better on morning sky with a blue background. So you can even go with accent highlights and silver linings. So with this, I come to the end of this video. I hope you have liked it. If you found this video helpful, and if I've added some value to your artistic skills, please drop a like. And don't forget to comment down below in the comments section. Consider subscribing my channel for more videos like these and helpful tutorials. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.